these can be concentrated against the Allied beachhead in the first few days, they might easily annihilate it. So the Allied planners adopt a dual approach. A massive deception campaign to keep the Germans guessing where the invasion will come, and the use of special operations to disrupt German reinforcements trying to get to the battlefield. But France is occupied. No organization exists to do this. So Allied commanders decide to use special operations to set one up. In 2003, it would be called insurgency. In 1942, they called it the resistance.
This special operations campaign was unprecedented, both for its size and for the variety of things it was being asked to do. Normandy is the moment where you see special operations go off and finally be appreciated as a recognizable and respectable form of warfare.
The role of resistance is not random sabotage. From the start, its efforts are totally focused on D-Day, especially intelligence gathering about the strength of the German Atlantic Wall and the location of German units. But the ultimate objective of the resistance and the special operations forces working with it is the interruption of German reinforcements by any means possible.
Various teams were given different targets: transportation networks, command and control centers, etc. The objective was to stop the German reinforcements from defeating the landings.
The Allied plan has 3 stages. Years before the invasion date is fixed, they send in leaders, radio operators, and sabotage and explosives experts to set up, train, and equip resistance networks throughout France. They also parachute in supplies, weapons, and explosives, and arrange to conceal them until D-Day arrives. This initial special operation campaign is conducted by the British SOE, the Special Operations Executive, and the American OSS, the Office of Strategic Services, the forerunner of today's CIA. It is a clandestine war of secret hiding places, furtive meetings, and constant vigilance. One slip can mean capture, torture, and almost certain death. The second phase is the night before D-Day. As the massive Allied invasion fleet slips across the English Channel, Special Forces teams parachute in to coordinate resistance activities and also conduct their own operations. The third stage continues disruption and sabotage during the weeks after the landings. In Europe, from 1942 to 1944, planners have met the first requirement in the battle plan for special operations: clear long-term objectives which can only be met by using special forces. 60 years later, as he prepares to oust Saddam Hussein, U.S. General Tommy Franks is suddenly forced to completely rethink his use of special operations. Instead of just supporting Franks' overall battle plan, special operations will be thrust into a leading role, responsible for the entire Second Front against Iraq's formidable army. Iraq, 2003. U.S. General Tommy Franks' battle plan to oust Saddam Hussein is a two-front war. One arm of his forces, 4 U.S. and 1 British division, will invade from Kuwait, driving toward Baghdad from the south. A second arm, the U.S. 4th Infantry, will transit through Turkey and advance on Baghdad from the north. Special operations units are assigned integral and vital tasks in both theaters, carrying out their classic raiding and reconnaissance roles. In the north, there is another element of special operations: coordination with the fiercely anti-Saddam forces of the Kurds. Since Gulf War I, Western powers have been helping protect the Kurds. Now, America will send CIA and Special Forces advisors to help organize the Peshmerga. But the key element of Frank's battle plan in the north is the U.S. 4th Infantry Division. Special Forces would only be setting the stage. Then on March 1st, just 3 weeks before the projected D-Day, with the 4th Infantry already at sea, Turkey withdraws permission for the U.S. troops to land. Suddenly, the entire battle plan is in jeopardy. Without the northern assault, Saddam could shift many divisions based there to boost his defenses against the coalition attack from the south. Franks rethinks quickly and changes the objective of the whole Special Forces operation in northern Iraq. Instead of coordinating the Kurdish Peshmerga to support the main attack by 4th Infantry Division, they become the main force. What Franks is relying on is the vital spin-off effect of Special Forces operations: force multiplication.
Special Forces allow a tremendous economy of force. With 12 men, they raise a battalion. So you invest 12 men and you get back between 500 and 1,000.
The classic example is Special Operations' use of local tribesmen in Vietnam. As the United States became involved in the Vietnam War, it became clear it must seal off the borders of South Vietnam. The CIA started recruiting local militias and turned to U.S. Special Forces to provide the actual training and leadership. Units raised from the Montagnard tribesmen transformed a small number of U.S. Special Forces operatives into a major fighting force, able to provide early warning of North Vietnamese infiltration. In 2003, Franks is confident that U.S. Special Operations leadership and organization, plus the latest in high-tech weapons, would enable the Peshmerga to tie down the Iraqi divisions in the north.
Paradoxically, the Turkish decision not to allow the passage of the 4th Infantry Division was a great boon for the American Special Operations Forces. It allowed that community to show its full range of capabilities. In effect, it broadened the American understanding of what Special Operations Forces could do.
Over 60 years earlier, the Normandy invasion planners had less experience to go on. Winston Churchill had set up SOE and the Commandos in 1940 to set Europe ablaze. Now General Morgan and his planners will use them to multiply the force through the French resistance. They reason that well-targeted attacks by small groups will cause enormous disruption and tie down disproportionate numbers of German troops. But for the Special Operations battle plans to succeed in 1944 or 2003, the planners must ensure that they have solved the second crucial factor: build-up. The right people and equipment must be put in place. In Europe in 1942, Allied planners face a problem. To stand any chance of even surviving, let alone setting up a resistance network, the agents they send into France must speak French fluently. This rules out the military, but the agents must have military skills. The British Special Operations Executive recruits civilians and trains them for the dirty war of a resistance agent. Self-defense, radio communication, sabotage, assassination, parachute jumping. In Europe in 1942, the Allies have no choice. They send an army of civilian special ops agents, men and women, into occupied France. But they do have the time needed to build up the necessary forces.